You're exhausted, you've been in bed for over an hour, but your mind is racing, your heart is beating a little too fast, and sleep feels completely out of reach. Sound familiar? Tonight, we're gonna change that permanently. The culprit behind your sleepless nights has a name: cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and it's supposed to peak in the morning to wake you up and taper off at night so you can sleep. When this rhythm breaks, sleep becomes nearly impossible. Here's the core mechanism. Cortisol and deep sleep exist in an inverse relationship. When cortisol is elevated at night, it actively suppresses melatonin, your sleep hormone, and prevents you from entering the slow-wave deep sleep your brain desperately needs to repair itself. What raises cortisol at night? Screen blue light, unresolved psychological stress, caffeine consumed after 2 p.m., evening arguments or conflict, and bright overhead lighting, which your brain interprets as midday sun. Each of these sends a false alarm to your stress axis. Stay awake, stay alert, danger is near. The cortisol production system is called the HPA axis: hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands. When your brain perceives threat, real or imagined, it activates this cascade in milliseconds. The problem is, your brain cannot distinguish between a lion attacking you and a worried thought about tomorrow's meeting. The brain clock glows warmly at each phase. The SCN is illustrated as a tiny conductor character inside the clock, waving a baton to coordinate hormone characters. Light beams enter from outside and hit the conductor, adjusting the rhythm. An evening scene shows blue light hitting the conductor and causing confusion. The baton drops. Blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and LED screens directly suppresses melatonin production by signaling to the brain that it's still daytime. Research shows just 2 hours of screen exposure before bed reduces melatonin by up to 23% and delays sleep onset by 90 minutes or more. The 2 hours before your target sleep time are neurologically critical. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have called this window the sleep pressure zone, the period when your cortisol should be in free fall and your melatonin should be rising. Everything you do in this window either helps or hinders that biological descent. One of the fastest and most evidence-based interventions for nighttime cortisol is something almost embarrassingly simple. Switch to dim, warm-toned lighting after sunset. Studies show overhead bright light in the evening elevates cortisol and suppresses melatonin, while warm amber light of 10 lux or less has the opposite effect. Your core body temperature must drop by approximately 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit for sleep to initiate. This temperature drop is itself a cortisol-lowering signal. Cool rooms, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, work with your biology. Warm rooms work against it, keeping cortisol subtly elevated. One of the biggest drivers of nighttime cortisol is unresolved cognitive load, the mental residue of the day's worries, tasks, and unfinished thoughts. Psychologist Borkovec's research shows that scheduled worry time writing concerns down before bed reduces intrusive nighttime thoughts by up to 40%. After your worry dump, close with gratitude. Neuroscience research shows that gratitude journaling before sleep shifts brain activity away from the threat detection amygdala and toward the prefrontal cortex, reducing cortisol and increasing oxytocin. Your brain's last input before sleep shapes the neurochemical environment of the night. The fastest way to lower cortisol in real time, validated by neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, is the physiological sigh. A double inhale through the nose, followed by a long, slow exhale through the mouth. A single physiological sigh reinflates collapsed lung sacs and rapidly offloads CO2, triggering an immediate parasympathetic response. The 4-7-8 breathing technique developed by Dr. Andrew Weil functions as a physiological sedative. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale for 8. The extended exhale activates the vagus nerve, which directly signals the adrenal glands to reduce cortisol output. 3 to 4 cycles are enough to shift your nervous system state. Progressive muscle relaxation, systematically tensing and releasing muscle groups from toe to head, reduces both perceived stress and measurable cortisol levels. The principle is that the body leads the mind. When your muscles release, your nervous system receives the message that threat has passed and cortisol begins to fall. Magnesium is perhaps the most evidence-backed nutritional intervention for nighttime cortisol and sleep quality. Research shows that over 68% of adults are deficient in magnesium, and deficiency directly elevates cortisol. Magnesium glycinate, or magnesium threonate, taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed, activates GABA receptors that calm neural excitation. Ashwagandha, an adaptogenic herb used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years, has been shown in multiple randomized controlled trials to reduce cortisol by an average of 28% over 60 days. It works by modulating the HPA axis, reducing the brain's reactivity to stressors, and blunting the cortisol response. What you eat in the evening directly affects your cortisol rhythm. Caffeine after 2 p.m. blocks adenosine, your sleep pressure molecule, for up to 10 hours. Alcohol fragments sleep architecture despite inducing initial drowsiness. Meanwhile, tart, cherry juice, kiwi fruit, and complex carbohydrates in the evening have all shown measurable sleep improvement effects in clinical studies. 3 additional evidence-based natural allies, passion flower extract, shown in studies to increase GABA activity and improve sleep quality scores significantly, valerian root, which reduces the time to fall asleep in multiple meta-analyses, and L-theanine, found in green tea, which promotes alpha brainwave activity, the same waves present in meditation and pre-sleep relaxation. Your bedroom environment is a cortisol management system. Darkness signals the brain that night has arrived, triggering melatonin release. White noise masks cortisol spiking sudden sounds. Cool temperature, as we discussed, initiates the core temperature drop required for sleep. And lavender aromatherapy has been shown to reduce cortisol and increase slow-wave sleep time. Irregular sleep timing is one of the most underappreciated drivers of elevated cortisol. When your sleep schedule varies by even 60 to 90 minutes night to night, your circadian clock cannot accurately anticipate cortisol's morning rise, causing it to misfire at night instead. Consistency is a biological non-negotiable. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Fixing your nighttime cortisol begins in the morning. 10 to 20 minutes of outdoor light exposure within the first hour of waking before sunglasses triggers a timed cortisol spike that programs the curve for the entire day. Morning cortisol set correctly means it falls correctly at night. Exercise is one of the most powerful long-term cortisol regulators, but timing matters. Intense exercise naturally spikes cortisol for 30 to 60 minutes post-workout. Morning or afternoon exercise allows cortisol to peak and clear before bed. Evening intense exercise can keep cortisol elevated into your sleep window. Gentle movement, however, yoga, walking, stretching is sleep compatible at any hour. A 15 to 20 minute slow evening walk is one of the most underutilized sleep interventions in modern life. It combines light, physical movement, which burns off residual adrenaline, with exposure to the amber light of dusk, which actually helps entrain the circadian clock to evening. Blood pressure drops, cortisol falls, muscles decompress. A 15 to 20 minute slow evening walk is one of the most underutilized sleep interventions in modern life. It combines light, physical movement, which burns off residual adrenaline, with exposure to the amber light of dusk, which actually helps entrain the circadian clock to evening. Blood pressure drops, cortisol falls, muscles decompress. Brief cold exposure, a 30 to 60 second cold shower or face immersion in cold water, creates what's called hormetic stress, a small, controlled stressor that makes your entire stress response system more resilient over time. Regular cold exposure has been shown to lower baseline cortisol and improve heart rate variability, both sleep quality predictors. Here is your complete 7-day protocol. Morning, 10 minutes of outdoor light within 1 hour of waking, and a gratitude intention. Afternoon, no caffeine after 2 p.m., exercise complete by 6 p.m. Evening, dim lights from 8 p.m., worry journal and gratitude at 8:30, physiological sigh or 4-7-8 breathing. Bedtime, magnesium glycinate, progressive muscle relaxation, room cooled to 66 degrees. 7 days, measurable change. Here's what you're working toward. During deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain activates the glymphatic system, a biological cleaning crew that flushes out toxic metabolic waste, including amyloid beta, the protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Deep sleep also consolidates memory, repairs tissue, regulates immune function, and resets your emotional brain for the next day. Sleep quality transformation is a compound process. You will not feel the full effect in one night, but the research is clear. People who apply even 3 of the interventions in this video consistently report meaningful improvement in sleep quality within 7 to 14 days and significant transformation by 30 days. Consistency is the variable that separates people who know this information from people who actually sleep well. Sleep is not a reward for a productive day. It is the foundation on which every productive day is built. You now have the science. You have the tools. Tonight, give your cortisol permission to fall and give your brain permission to rest. Because on the other side of one good night's sleep is a version of yourself you may have forgotten was possible. Subscribe for weekly evidence-based psychology and sleep well.